Hey, newcomer, stick to your job, will ya? Don't even think about coming on a trip to Guam. I, having turned 50, found myself switching careers for reasons of my own. However, at my new company's staff trip to Guam, it turned out I was the only one without a boarding pass. Set up by a younger colleague, it seems. Apparently, this junior employee thinks I'm just another rank-and-file member. It makes sense. If he knew better, he wouldn't pull such a stunt. Not realizing it could cost him his job. My name is John Smith. I'm a man nearing 50 who's had to switch careers at this age. Between moving and dealing with all sorts of paperwork, I've had quite a tiresome first week on the job. Almost a month has passed since then. I'm getting used to my new home, new environment, and the new job, and my daily life is beginning to stabilize. These past few days, while not particularly noteworthy, have brought various happenings at work. But for me, the new guy, it's been a good kind of challenge. On the whole, I'm fairly satisfied with my new life. Perhaps it's because of my age at the time of this career change, but all my seniors teaching me the ropes are younger. The workplace is vibrant with young talent. Many of them acknowledge my skills and rely on me. Determined not to be outdone by them, I've built on the experience from my previous job to do meaningful work. Yet, there's a dark cloud looming over my life. My direct manager at the new job, the department manager, is someone named Brandon. At just 32 years old, he's an elite employee who's graduated from a prestigious private university and made it to department manager. It seems his meteoric rise has become a source of pride, and he's got it out for me since I joined the company at 50 as a regular employee. He's reluctant to approve various applications, and he's always nitpicking when it comes to document approvals. Anyway, he doesn't seem to like me one bit, always rating me at rock bottom, as if an old-timer newbie like me is useless. It raises serious doubts about whether he's as capable or competent as his title suggests. His attitude is overbearing, and he's quick to lash out in anger if something doesn't suit his fancy. He probably doesn't like it when things don't go his way. It's not hard to guess that his too high pride is what's driving this behavior. He's a self-centered person, dumping unpleasant tasks on his subordinates. When it comes to taking credit for others' work, he's reputedly the best in the business. I'd heard rumors about him before, but it seems his behavior has gotten worse lately. Probably because he's got an old newbie he thinks he can push around. The volume and nature of the work I'm saddled with are such that I might as well claim the title of manager myself. As for what the actual manager is doing, it's maddening. He's not engrossed in paperwork or a computer screen, but his cell phone. When you're on your phone, what exactly are you doing, Brandon? Even when staff members implicitly call him out, he just snaps back, quiet, I'm doing research, with no sign of change. I once caught a glimpse of his phone screen, and it was showing an animation of giant robots battling. This company isn't involved in the robot industry, nor does it have anything to do with animation or screenwriting. It's not just me, other staff members are also inwardly fuming about his so-called research. At this rate, it's no surprise that his subordinates, including myself, are becoming overwhelmed with work. I find myself working overtime almost daily, starting to miss the sight of the setting sun. Yet, the manager always leaves on the dot. Leaving on time isn't bad in itself, in fact, it should be encouraged. But with Brandon, it's different. He might as well be on a day off at home for all the work he does in the office. Well, I'm heading out. Make sure you handle everything, especially you, the newbie. It's 6 p.m. It looks like he's leaving early again today. Pointing his index finger at me, he calls out my name directly. I'd normally like some help, but in his case, It's actually more efficient without him around. Yeah, okay. Neither I nor the other staff members tried to stop him from leaving. Considering he became a manager at 32, if he put in a bit more effort, further promotion wouldn't be just a dream. Unable to stand the situation any longer, I collaborated with the senior staff, other than the manager, to try and improve our workflow efficiency. We started by reducing the amount of printed materials in line with recent paperless trends. We successfully cut down on the unnecessary time spent filing and searching for filed documents. Next, we got rid of unnecessary meetings. Spending an hour just to ramble on with minor reports was a total waste. We immediately stopped that and kept it to sharing via internal emails to all members. With this approach, our work efficiency kept improving, and gradually, overtime hours began to decrease. Since I was the one who initially suggested these efficiencies, to my delight, I was thanked by my senior colleagues. But there was one person who didn't take kindly to these changes. Needless to say, it was our manager, Brandon. At first, he didn't interfere with the efficiency initiatives, but as soon as he found out I was the one behind it, he flipped like a switch and started to object. Don't go doing things on your own. I'm sorry, but at this rate, everyone's health is going to suffer. Shut it. Working hard until you're tired, that's the point. Don't try to make it easy. He said this despite not being tired or working much himself. Resisting his bullying was tiring and a waste of time. So I just apologized without any backtalk and went back to work. It's been about a month and a half since I joined this workplace. Luckily, a company trip, which also served as my welcome party, was being arranged. The destination was Guam, and family participation was allowed upon request. Brandon, could you please approve this? It's the application for family members to join the company trip. Oh, all right. When I handed over the documents, Brandon snatched them as if ripping them from my hands. He was looking at his cell phone again at that time. Probably he was irritated at being disturbed during his viewing. I'll pass this on from me to the director. Thank you. What in the world? I was surprised by Brandon's unusually swift approval. Brandon, what? Stop staring and beat it. Okay. He was smirking slyly at that time. The day of the company trip, I took my wife, Allie, to the gathering spot. We were supposed to meet in front of the airport gate and receive our plane tickets there. I wonder how the in-laws are doing. Amidst the bustling crowd, I asked Allie, who was carrying bags in both hands. Little do people know, my wife Allie is Nebraska's American from Guam. We met and married during my time living in Guam due to circumstances. They're fine. I got an email just the other day. Dad was the life of the village fiesta. He seemed so happy. The fiesta is a village festival often held in Guam. It's celebrated to honor the patron saints and is charming because even tourists can easily join in. That's good. They seem well. Yeah. We talked about our relatives as we headed to the gate. Most of the attendees had already gathered, and there were people from our department too. Oh, good morning, John. The greeting came from Kylie, a senior colleague. She is an up-and-coming young employee who joined the company the year before last. Good morning. Brandon is handling everyone's tickets. Is that so? I'll go get them then. Brandon was at a rest area near the gate. He was still engrossed in his cell phone, watching that animated movie intently. Good morning, Brandon. What? You're here? What do you mean, you're here? Unfortunately, he paused the video and continued with a similar smirk to when I submitted the travel request. I don't have tickets for you too. What? As I frowned, Brandon started grinning even more. What do you mean by that? Ellie, who had been looking forward to showing her parents her face, asked. I too looked at Brandon with the same question. It means just what I said. A slacker and a newbie like you couldn't possibly be going. Brandon, that's your own description. I almost retorted but held back, not wanting to cause a scene that could affect my future at the company. Besides, this was a public place. The company's name must be displayed somewhere, and I didn't want to attract negative attention. Oops, time to board. Too bad, Mr. Newbie, since you are always slacking. Go back to the office and work in silence. Stunned, Allie and I were mocked by Brandon as he headed to the boarding gate. Left behind, Allie and me. During our discussion, I had personally suggested going to Guam. I had already taken vacation time for travel, and as Brandon said, the office would probably be closed anyway. If we forced our way in, we'd inevitably need to deal with the security company. Yeah, it makes sense to go on our own. I've already bought some souvenirs for the folks anyway. Then let's do that. I'll ask if there are any tickets available for today. I too wanted to drop by my in-laws for the first time in a while. Plus, on the second day of the planned company trip, I had important business to attend to. Brandon seemed unaware, but there was no way I could not go. After about a 10-minute wait in line, I approached the counter. Excuse me, do you have 2 seats available for today's flight to Guam? Yes, let me check for you. The woman, with her posture upright and polite demeanor, started clicking away at the computer keyboard. After several clicks of the mouse, she looked up at me again. Thank you for waiting. We do have availability, but it would be in business class. Business class, that's going to cost a bit more. Well, it's a vacation after all. Let's splurge a bit and thoroughly enjoy ourselves. Yes, those seats will be fine, thank you. Understood. Somehow, we managed to get last-minute tickets to Guam. Ellie and I then took off to Guam on the next flight. The journey in business class was many times more comfortable than I had imagined. High-quality seats that don't tire you out even after long hours. More personal space than other seats. It might have actually been better to pay for this out of pocket. I'm sorry, I need to use the restroom real quick. Sure. An hour and a half had passed after departure. While I was enjoying my coffee, I couldn't hold it any longer and had to get up from my seat. Following the signs, I made it to the restroom, but it was occupied. After waiting nearby for a few minutes, I heard the sound of flushing. Finally, the lock clicked open and a man came out. I'm sorry for the wait. Oh, John, is that you? Jack, isn't it? It was Jack, a junior colleague from before my job switch. Neither of us expected to meet here, and we were both surprised. What brings you here? I was on vacation with my family back in Nebraska, and now I'm heading back to Guam for work. Is that right? I'm on vacation too. I thought I'd drop by my wife's family. I just moved to Nebraska not too long ago myself. Oh, you're on vacation. I heard from my dad that you were coming to Guam for a company trip. Yeah, you heard about that. Actually, Jack is the son of the owner of the company I used to work for in Guam. I had a good relationship with him, and naturally, with his father as well. The president of that company and my current workplace had connections, which is how I got called over to Nebraska. It wasn't really something to hide, so I explained the situation to Jack. Haha, it sounds like you're in quite the situation. Come on, it's not funny, really. My apologies. But as for this so-called manager Brandon, who knows what will happen with him? Haha, indeed. Jack burst into laughter after hearing about Brandon, probably because he knows what I was called to Nebraska. I mean, why I was called over here. Hey, what about the social gathering? Wasn't it scheduled for the second day of the company trip? Well, what to do? Because of Brandon, I'm supposed to be on vacation right now. Well, what to do now? Oops, I came here to use the restroom. Oh, I'm sorry for holding you up. I'll just take care of business and think about this issue later. Still, without a solution, the plane landed at Guam's airport. There I was, waiting for our luggage to come out on the conveyor belt with Ali and Jack, when... Hey, isn't that John? Did you come all this way at your own expense? Poor guy. Thanks for that. He was still at the airport, huh? His usual condescending attitude was especially annoying today. Well, your hotel and meals aren't arranged, so you better take care of it yourself. After getting his piece said, Brandon went back to the other employees, laughing loudly. Jack, who was nearby, was desperately trying to hold back his laughter. Though it wasn't a laughing matter. After collecting our luggage and talking with Jack for about 30 minutes, Ellie's uncle came to pick us up in his car. It was time to say goodbye to Jack for now. See you later. If you want, the four of us, including your wife, should grab a meal together. That sounds good. How about tomorrow evening? Sure. I waved one last time and got into the car. The destination was Ellie's family home. That night, relatives gathered for a garden party in her honor. It's only been a month and a half, but it seems lonely for them that their daughter crosses borders and is away. Both my father-in-law and mother-in-law were overjoyed to reunite with Allie. Oh, delicious. It's definitely that taste. You've got beer in Nebraska, haven't you? While the three of them were having a great time, I shared a beer with Ellie's brother. Well, they do, but it just doesn't suit my taste. Maybe because I've lived here so long. Is that so? Feel free to take some beer from our house if you'd like. Really? Yeah, of course, but watch the quantity. You'll be charged if you go over the limit. Got it. As the conversation and drinks flowed, I was finally getting tipsy. It's the best time at any party. But then, a sound cut through those moments. Huh? A phone call. When I took out the cell phone from my right pocket, the screen shows Manager Brandon. I answered, though I wasn't feeling up for it. Hello, this is John. Hey you, where are you? Get over to the Elaine Hotel now. His tone was so fierce that I instinctively pulled the phone away from my ear. Why? What do you mean why? Just get over here. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to decline. Decline? What are you planning? Weren't you the one who marked us as not attending the trip, Brandon? I'm on vacation now, so please excuse me. Hey, he was about to say more, but I forcibly ended the call, not wanting any more interruptions. He called back several times after that. It was so persistent that I had to set my phone to reject his calls. Forgetting all about that, I was enjoying myself when my pocket buzzed again. I was about to ignore it, but then I remembered I'd set Brandon to be blocked, so I checked the screen. Huh? It was President Riley on the display. Asher Riley. The president of the company where I had been recruited, a friend of the president of the company where Jack works. He liked the work I had done in Guam and had hunted me. He's 70 years old and thinking about retiring soon. Hello, this is John. It's Riley. I heard from Brandon that you were on a break. I'm sorry. I was supposed to join the company trip, but due to a scheme by Brandon, Allie and I were made non-participants. I'm here in Guam on personal business. Right now, we're having a party at Allie's folks' place. I've explained everything that happened. Is that so? I'm sorry. I've caused you trouble. No, President Riley, you haven't done anything. For now, we'll just stay at my wife's family home today. All right, that's fine. I'll make sure to show up at the networking event, so I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be waiting. Do you know the time and place? Yes, I'm aware. Good, then, I'm counting on you for tomorrow. It's a very important introduction. Understood. After a few more pleasantries, the call ended. Whew, who would have thought this would be how Brandon's actions would come to the president's attention? The next day, Ellie and I met up with the Jack and his wife in front of the park. We took a taxi to our intended hotel. Well, this is impressive. Guam, a tourist destination, is visited by all sorts of people. From tycoons and celebrities to the average Joe, everyone has their own style. This hotel, seemingly built for tycoons, was dazzling everywhere you looked. Expensive-looking art was nonchalantly on display. Everything from the people's demeanor to the furniture was exquisite. We have a dinner reservation here, so it should be a good warm-up for the important networking event. That's for sure. We have 2 hours until the networking event. There is plenty of time to have a leisurely meal before heading to the top floor, the venue for the event. After enjoying a sumptuous meal, we took the elevator to the top floor. The food was outstanding and made for a great memory. How nice it would have been to share this meal with the senior colleagues from the same department. It's about time, huh, John? Yeah. Hey, I'm getting nervous despite my age. It can't be helped. After all, John, you're the next. The bell chimed, announcing our arrival at the top floor. As the doors opened, the buzz of employees' voices could be heard. Finally arrived, John. Brandon, a man completely out of place in the upscale hotel atmosphere, charged towards us, yelling, "You! How dare you hang up on me yesterday?" Brandon's face contorted like a demon's. He was so furious that half of his words were unintelligible. I was on vacation, after all. Don't talk back to me, and what's with that attitude? Is that how you address your superior, huh? Regardless of my response, Brandon kept on ranting. Unbeknownst to the excited Brandon, the other employees were looking on with disapproval. Because of you not being there, I got chewed out. How are you going to take responsibility if this affects my promotion? Haha, Brandon, was it? Why don't you stop making a scene in such a beautiful place? Haha, oh man, that's hilarious. Jack finally lost his patience. He laughed at Brandon in fluent Nebraskese. Shut up, and who are you anyway? Outsiders should stay quiet. Look, there's that shouting. Hey, Jack, it's not just the noise. The women are getting intimidated. Shut up, I said. When Jack opened his mouth, Brandon, the manager, repeatedly stamped his right foot on the floor. He looked just like a child throwing a tantrum because he couldn't get the toy he wanted. Listen up, John, if you even scratch my path to promotion, when that happens. Brandon, while repeatedly jabbing his index finger into my face, spat out his grievances. Then, there it was. So here you were, John. A quiet yet firm voice came from behind Brandon. The president. It was President Riley. Realizing he had been seen at a bad moment, Brandon quickly straightened up and put on a smile. Good evening, Mr. President. I'm really sorry about yesterday. No, I'm the one who should apologize. Besides, I appreciate you coming here today, even though it's a holiday. You are our company's. Without even glancing at the standing Brandon, President Riley paused a bit before continuing. Next president. What? Next president? When the current president informed me of this, the strength drained from Brandon's shoulders. Not understanding what was happening, I was just stunned. Brandon. Yes, sir. Don't worry, you won't be promoted. With just those words, President Riley walked towards the venue. The four of us followed him into the event. As if the earlier commotion was a lie, the manager had become quiet. He just opened and closed his mouth without being able to say a word. The social gathering began. Company executives gave their speeches one by one, and then it was the current president's turn. I felt my nerves growing. It's finally time. Yeah. Ellie, seated to my left, must have sensed my tension and whispered to me. I hope she'll forgive my curt reply. Ladies and gentlemen of our company, today, all the way here in Guam, President Riley started his introduction, but I wasn't calm enough to listen. And finally, the time came. Therefore, I, Asher Riley, will step down from the presidency and watch over the company as chairman. A mix of gasps and applause followed. When it quieted down a bit, Chairman Riley continued. The new president to succeed me has already been decided. Please step up, John Smith. Yes, I replied with a strong and dignified voice. I was worried whether my walk seemed too stiff. John, please, say a word. I was handed the microphone. I stood to the right of the chairman and looked over the assembled employees. Good. They seemed to be accepting it. Although I noticed an exception sitting alone at a corner table, I focused forward and spoke of the future. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm John Smith. I've been given the honor of succeeding President Riley as the new CEO. My commitment is to the continued growth and advancement of our company. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Applause filled the room. Even I was surprised. I hadn't expected such a warm welcome. Just a month and a half ago, a 50-year-old guy switches jobs, and suddenly, he's the new CEO. Only the higher-ups knew that I was originally called from Guam to Nebraska as the next in line for the presidency. Thank you, Mr. President. I look forward to making the company thrive with you. And now, yes, the chairman's speech seemed to be continuing. I inadvertently let out a sound, as the turn of events was different from our meeting. Times like these call for some tough talk, but we don't need people who hinder our progress. Those who drag the rest of us down. I'll be issuing some directives once we're back from this trip, so for now, just enjoy the journey. That's all. I bowed with the chairman to everyone present and descended the steps. During that moment, I saw Brandon pressing his right hand against his forehead, trembling. Due to my parents' work, I mostly lived abroad. I spent up until middle school in China, then went to the U.S. for further studies, graduating from both high school and college there. My language skills landed me a job at a Nebraska's company in the States. My sales were always top-notch, leveraging my bilingual advantage. I was even asked to host seminars to boost sales. That's when Mr. Riley approached me a few months back. Mr. Asher Riley, the president of a Nebraska's company, is a childhood friend of the president of Guam. He is now 70 years old, and I heard that he's been thinking about retiring soon. However, he seems to be in trouble because he hasn't found a successor yet. That's why I was recommended as the successor to President Riley. Even if I'm suddenly told to take over as president, I don't know much about the company's internal affairs. Besides, the pressure is immense. Because of that, I made it a condition to spend about 1 to 2 months as an ordinary employee. President Riley willingly accepted this, and with my agreement, the job change was finalized. Looking back, I believe it was the right decision. Thanks to that, I was able to single out people like Brandon. The night before the social gathering, President Riley called me and I reported on Brandon. When he summoned him and asked why I was not there, he just kept making excuses that suited him. This infuriated President Riley, but at the same time, Brandon was also angry at me, trying to shift the blame. There's no reason for me to be scolded, though. Well, anyway, it seems that he had already decided what to do with Brandon at that time. Not only this time, but there had been complaints about Brandon from the employees for a long time. In addition, I consulted with the current chairman about the odd figures reported by Brandon. It's a crucial part of the company's revenue, so as the new president, I can't overlook it. I asked some employees who remained in Nebraska to investigate Brandon. As a result, evidence of misconduct was found one after another. It seems he had been embezzling funds over the past few years. Of course, Brandon, who had been repeating such acts, was fired. Just as the chairman had told me, the official notice came right after I returned from my trip to Guam. Words like hindering progress and pulling everyone's leg were all aimed at him. After that, it became a matter for the lawyers to handle. If he was pocketing company money, that's a serious offense. He needs to pay for what he's done. Neither the chairman, myself, nor the rest of the employees work for charity. It's been half a year since I took over as president. The immediate goals are to reduce overtime and increase productivity. I encouraged spreading the practices I had been doing in the department when I first joined to the entire company. I also actively introduced flex time and remote work. Creating an environment where everyone can work comfortably was my first job as president. This system reform has been well received, and I've been getting various suggestions from the employees. President Smith: "Oh, Kylie, what can I do for you? We were discussing in the department, and we thought using chat for internal communication would be good. It's more casual and smooth for checking." Chat, yeah, that might be convenient. I'll bring it up at the next executive meeting. Thank you very much. I'm counting on you. The reason for an environment where it's easy to consult, regardless of place or time, is because I dislike sitting up high. I made it a point to spend lunchtime with the employees as much as possible and always have a smile on my face. It seems to be having a good effect. The free working style I learned at the company in Guam. The diligent working attitude I learned at the Nebraska's company. By striking a good balance between these two elements, the company's productivity has been on the rise. Watching the state of the company, the chairman looks pleased. He's completely at ease now and has gone off on a trip around the world. It seems he's really enjoying his retirement. The monthly web regular meeting, conducted by the chairman, myself, and Jack, who recently took over as president in Guam, broadcasts his adventures. After a good laugh, we get down to business. I've started to look forward to this rhythm too. A workplace with good vibes. A workplace with clear boundaries. A stress-free workplace. And a workplace where no one is singled out. It's tough to sum up what makes a great workplace in just one sentence. Yet, I plan to listen to the employees and turn each ideal into reality. It's these efforts that I believe will improve the company. And it's with this belief that I aim to reach even greater heights.